These unscrupulous clinics feed on the sentiment of infertile couples desperate to have a baby. And the modus operandi is quite simple. Poor women conned by brokers, lured with money, but paid a mere pittance for renting their womb.
After delivery,
Raids on a fertility center in the heart of Hyderabad has revealed horrifying details of a massive scam. As many as 47 women were forcibly confined to this clinic. They had to share one toilet between them. They were not allowed to leave the premises till they were ready to deliver the baby at the end of their term.
You can see this building right here. It says Saikiran Hospital, a unit of Kiran Infertility Center. Also a big board right outside at the entrance of the building, which actually denotes or tells the customers about the series of facilities that are available, that are being administered to the patients. Right at the bottom of the board, you can also see surrogacy, which is also clearly mentioned on their board.
What's worse is that this center was not even registered to conduct surrogacy, and yet it flourished undeterred for 4 years in the heart of the city.
Hospital authorities engaged some of the brokers who are going to the rural areas and getting the female for accepting this.
There's nothing to regulate this entire system. So taking advantage of that loophole, various clinics and other hospitals, in fact big hospitals are also running this kind of racket, wherein they are taking advantage of women. This is the issue of human rights, child rights and women rights also.
Mothers subjected to inhuman conditions. This baby factory in Hyderabad raises serious questions about how ethical surrogacy is. So on the urban debate, we ask, should surrogacy be banned? Mirror Now report.
It's a very important question that we're asking this evening on the urban debate, and I ask this question of you viewers because I want you to weigh in as well. We know that there was a bill that was drafted and proposed last year that prevented surrogacy from being conducted as a business in this country. That bill has not been passed. It is still a proposal. But there are two sides to this story. On one side, as we have seen happen in Hyderabad, and it's very likely is happening in other parts of our country, women are being used as baby factories. For about 2 lakh rupees or 3 lakh rupees, they're being confined to a space and their wombs are being rented out. Should this be allowed to continue? Is this a violation of their fundamental rights? And on the other hand, you have families that don't have babies that want babies. Are the rules too strict? The other question we have to ask is that if surrogacy is banned altogether, will this sort of illegal activity only be encouraged some more? Should surrogacy be banned or should it be regulated better? That's the question we're asking this evening. It's a very important question to ask because the regulations that have been proposed for surrogacy are very strict. They prevent any homosexual couple, same-sex couples from accessing the surrogacy network. They prevent anybody from paying money for surrogacy. You can only get someone who is a blood relative who has already had a baby of their own to volunteer to carry a child to term. Is this too strict, and will this push more and more people into this sort of illegal activity? That's the question we're asking this evening. Joining us on the show, Krishnasagar Rao, spokesperson of the BJP. We have Limba Reddy, is the DCP Central Task Force, joining us from Hyderabad. Siddh Vidya is a surrogacy advocate. Atchyuta Rao is a child's rights activist. Amit Karkhanis is an advocate who has been dealing with these cases. Ranjana Kumari, Director of the Center of Social Studies. Dr. Shivani Sachdev Gour is a gynaecologist and an IVF specialist. And Dr. Indira Hinduja is an honorary gynaecologist and an infertility specialist who is a pioneer in this field. We have a fantastic panel of voices this evening. And I'm going to make sure that everybody gets enough time to weigh in on this question. I'm going to start with Dr. Indira Hinduja. Do you believe that surrogacy in its current form in India should be banned altogether? Do you believe that that bill that is pending right now should be passed as quickly as possible?
Surrogacy is a very, very important procedure for certain wanted women. But if you select the women properly, and not only the person who is going to be the commissioned mother or the couple and the surrogate woman, they benefit mutually to each other. So therefore, selection of the surrogate and indication of surrogacy, if you really strictly follow, it is a very useful procedure. However, any procedure which is very useful, if it is misused, definitely it is going to go in disrepute. However, the good confined selection between the two, surrogate parents and also the commissioned parent, it is extremely useful procedure, and it's so many childless mother gets the pleasure of having their genetic child. And it is such a desire for any women to have a genetic child. When they can have it with the help of surrogate, and surrogate can help to any couple who cannot, which is actually a very good act to carry the pregnancy and have the baby. So I would say it should not be banned, but it should be done very, very selectively and under proper regulation and guidelines.
Dr. Hinduja, what do you mean by selectively? What would the selection be? You said select the surrogate carefully. How would that selection happen?
See, what I'll tell you what happens in first of all, the surrogate who wants to be a surrogate, we do a thorough examination of that lady, such as examination journal, blood test, breast examination, required mammography, pap smear, and we see that she has delivered earlier and also she never had any complication during pregnancy. I would say if you do such detailed examination of the woman, probably this will be the first time in her lifelong that she will undergo such detailed health checkup, which is very beneficial for the woman, and also at the same time she will have a pleasure of giving the utmost desire, fulfilling the utmost desire of a genetic mother, and even that pleasure is very good. And after all, she has done so much for that, and if she is being benefited by any means.
All right. Let me bring in Ranjana Kumari. Ranjana Kumari, do you believe that these nearly 50 women who were discovered in Hyderabad, who are being hauled up in one room, the footage we're looking at of this room is almost depressive. They had one toilet between all of them. They were not being allowed to leave the premises until they were ready to deliver their babies. This is almost human trafficking. This is a crime in the worst way. Was their fundamental rights being infringed upon, Ranjana? Where do you stand on the surrogacy debate?
Well, Faye, let me first inform you that we conducted two research supported by Government of India. One was in Gujarat, Jamnagar, Surat and Anand, and second one was Delhi and Mumbai. And also, of course, Dr. Who just spoke, we interviewed her also in our research. And then there was another study conducted in Hyderabad situation by a group of professors from JNU. These were joint research. We came up with lot of findings. First time we really explained to people what this is all about and how poor women's lives get trapped into it and how they are getting exploited. So we brought all these stories out, and also of course at that time, at the moment you are reporting 2 to 3 lakhs, our research was conducted about 2 or 3 years back when we recommended, because this has been going on for a long time on the basis of the guidelines given by the Medical Council of India. There is no law which was regulating this whole thing. As a result, it mushroomed, and about 40,000 to 50,000 babies have been born I do not know because there is no record of such babies. And then of course that means as many mothers must have been brought in from somewhere. We found a woman from Gumla, Ranchi in Gujarat. So we were really shocked, and we found women coming from Odisha in Delhi hospitals, and similar situation where doctors have taken. So it's very unfortunate that a very, very advanced medical technology has come under such criticism. It's also very unfortunate that doctors who are really, ultimate God in the eyes of the people have come to such disrepute because of the way they have taken this whole advancement in medical technology to the level where it has become really demeaning, inhuman, and also it has been treating the women who have been brought from anywhere and everywhere, and they took no responsibility. If doctors had taken the responsibility, this would not have happened. It is the middleman who puts everybody together. He puts the person who comes from wherever the commissioning parents. There are 4 stakeholders in this whole process. The commissioning parents, the surrogate mother, then also of course the baby born out of that, and then here is this middleman and the doctor. So he puts all the 4 stakeholders, the middleman puts them all together. He is the one who negotiates with the woman. He is the one who really gets the contract signed. Contracts are 99.9% in English. Women do not understand what is written in the contract, and finally of course what is paid to them. So I have a huge amount of story to tell you, and that is why I accepted to be on this program. And then we of course met Mr. Harshvardhan, the then health minister, and requested him to regulate the whole thing. We said that it has become such a huge money spinner industry. It is all over India. It cannot be stopped, and ban is not an answer for anything. I do not think Government of India can ban anything or ban can be implemented. So please, very, very strictly regulate it. And that was because our first study came up.
Very strictly regulated. Ranjana, let me just bring in other voices now to respond to what you're saying.
It should be banned. We said it should be banned. Look, we started with the ban idea, and when we realized the spans of it, we said, okay, you cannot ban it, so you can regulate it at least. At least save these poor women, save their human rights, save their health, and do not just let them. So, this is something we came up with the idea of ban in the first round of research, and second round of research, we clearly saw the, the kind of engagement of the doctors and the spans everywhere in the city. You are only talking about Hyderabad. You should see just down here in Delhi, in just Bengali market, in this Golgadda Khana market, wherever you go, if there are gynecologists, there is something like this going on everywhere.
Right. Okay. So banning is not a solution. Dr. Shivani Gour, why is it, and respond to what Ranjana is saying, that gynecologists and doctors should take more responsibility of who these women are, where they're being brought in from. In the Hyderabad case, for example, all of these women were from Delhi. They were very far away from home. They were alone, obviously. They were away from their families, and they were not being treated with basic human dignity. Shouldn't doctors be more responsible? Dr. Shivani Gour.
What I would like to say is, from what I have read in the media, is that some of these women were not living anyway in terrible conditions. They decided that they would want to do surrogacy because they felt that the compensation that they will get is going to help significantly to improve their condition. So that is why, Madam, please let me have my 2 minutes. I would just request you. What they wanted to do was to get some compensation and do surrogacy. They heard about it, they understood the concept, they wanted to do this. For that they travel. A lot of women travel when they are doing some work. For them it was like a work, it was like a project. They traveled, they wanted to do the treatment. And what I've heard now is, what I've read in the media is that right now these women are pregnant and they have been, the medical care has been disconnected. So right now the couples also are in distress. The women do not know where to go. At least they would have got their compensation, they would have done the program completely, they would have completed some project or whatever they had in mind for which they came to do surrogacy. So somewhere there has to be a concept that the woman also has to have a say. Is this something that she thinks she wants to do because she thinks that the advantages to her will help her in some project that she has in mind? So at some point there has to be if a woman says, I want this infrastructure, if the government says these are the rules, you're going to follow them A, B, C. No infertile couple ever wants that they are going to trouble a woman or they are going to exploit a woman, nor does any doctor want.
No, but what is your response then to the fact that these women were being confined, that they had one toilet between 50 of them, they were not being allowed to leave the premises?
I fully agree with you that
their rights are not being respected here.
Ma'am, what I'm trying to tell you is that if there is a particular rule or a guideline that you can have only a woman has to be provided with this kind of room, this kind of... What I have read in the media was that where they were living, the facilities were not even as good as where they were right now for surrogacy. That is the basic point that I'm trying to get across.
That's unfortunately the truth, that it's the really, really poor people who get taken advantage of, however poor they may have been, however poor the conditions, their normal living conditions are. These sort of living conditions are still not acceptable. I want to bring in B. Limba Reddy, DCP Central Task Force in this particular case, who's familiar with the case. Mr. Reddy, thank you so much for giving us your time. Please explain to us the condition in which you found these women and why you believe that their rights were being infringed upon. Mr. Reddy.
Yeah, thank you. The surrogacy ban is not the solution. It has to be regulated properly. I think this recent amendment 2016 also provides a lot of regulatory provisions that will be helpful to the infertile couple, because it has to be there, but it has to be properly regulated. Now what happened in this case, when we observe, it is like a organized crime, wherein these people who are the brokers, the women who are most backward and financially poor, and most of them are divorcees, and some of the women are being harassed by their husbands. So do they have their own problems? For that reason, they brokers, they who are the agents, they contacted them, and they have given all hope that they'll get money, and it's a matter of 9 months they'll get 4 to 5 lakhs. But when they come to the hospital, they are paid only 2.5 lakhs and 3.5 lakhs. Most of them have come from this Telangana rural areas, as well as there are about 36 women who have come from Delhi, Darjeeling and nearby areas. When we inquired the women, all of them are economically poor, and they have their own problems in their family. Because of that reason they have come. So these are why I said organized crime, because there are the offices in Delhi, the agents are there. They engage some of the boys. Yeah. They will go to the colony, Muslims. They tell the women. Then they brought in them to the hospital, and here the conditions are very bad. And as my other speakers said, there are about in one hall there are about 36, and in another hall there are about 19. See, these people, these women, there is only one bathroom. They are not having all facilities. So under these conditions, they are being exploited by the doctors, agents, and others. So this has to be properly regulated, and this enforcing authority has to take time-to-time action. These not only this center,
Krishnasagar Rao. All centers have to be regulated. Krishnasagar Rao is the spokesperson of the BJP. Mr. Rao, tell us, and you are from Hyderabad, tell us why the government has not passed the surrogacy bill that was proposed in 2016. What is delaying it? And do you believe that this should be regulated or banned altogether?
Faye, basically the Assisted Reproduction Technologies Regulation Act of 2015 has been, I think 2014 when they have tabled it, and 2015 it didn't move. We are just 3 years here, and the technology has been 25 years. And you know, I don't want to politicize it. The issue is bigger than politics. But we should have had laws by now. And we attempted, but the obstructionism in the parliament, as you see, there were a lot of laws which are still due both in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. This is one of the law which is now for amendment, and this is now in the cold storage, and wish that it gets cleared in the next session of the parliament. Now, having said that, this is an outrageous, massive scam. And I commend you and your channel for having initiated this discussion. All day you have been carrying it. You're doing great service to this, to this cause. Personally, because there is no open discussion in the party. So what I state is more out of as an analyst and a strategist, and as someone who can understand law and understand regulation. So I'm not representing BJP as such, because the party doesn't have any stand firmly on this at this point of time, because this is not a, an issue which is political at this point of time. So I hope you are okay with that.
Mr. Rao, don't you think the party should have a stand, considering it is... One second, I'm sorry, let me just interrupt you. Allow me, please. Mr. Krishnasagar Rao, shouldn't the party have a stand on this matter? Shouldn't the party be very clear? I mean, you're running the central government and most state governments. Shouldn't the party be very clear about where you stand on this? There has to be a push. These issues of women's rights have to be top priority. Yes. Unfortunately, they're not, as you just accepted.
Fair. I think you have to you have to differentiate between a party and a government. Certainly, government has initiated already an amendment. So, do you think that they won't have gone through what they have to go through to table a amendment? So, the government is doing its job. I am saying the party issue, because party doesn't discuss every single issue across the country in party format. These are done at the government level, not at the party level. But the party is very clear. That's why I'm going to say what I have to say. Please let me say it. This is a massive racket, and it needs to be curbed. This is organized crime, and unfortunately, when there is so much of exploit, it's heartbreaking. And for some people who are giving that pathetic excuses of they are better off than they were in their own homes is pathetic and unacceptable. This is a violation of not just the human rights, women rights and child rights, but it ultra-wires, contravenes with the Constitution and the rights the Constitution provides. And it's not such a sin to ban commercial stuff which we are talking about at this point of surrogacy, because 70% of the world countries have already banned and made it illegal. That includes United States. Some states of United States has some liberal policies. UK has banned it. Japan has banned it. Ireland has banned it. There are many countries
then the government needs
where
to
the
move
surrogacy
faster. Then
which
the
has
government
commercial
needs to move
contracts
faster.
are completely illegal.
Let me bring in Siddh Vidya, who's an advocate on this matter. Siddh Vidya, do you believe that women's rights are being infringed? Do you believe that women's rights are being infringed? Should we ban this practice altogether? Is it possible? And consider the fact that this was Banjara Hills of Hyderabad, the poshest neighborhood where all the politicians live. So this is not some remote part of the country. If you are unable to regulate this sort of brazen violation.
I do believe that this is definitely a violation of women's rights, human rights, child rights, and this is against the public policy as well. And so long as everybody is talking about regulating, I am hearing all the panelists, but I am not coming to the conclusion, how are you going to regulate it? Unless and until you are going to stop the money-making business in this entire thing, you are not going to regulate it. So I believe that so long as the commercial surrogacy is going on, it cannot be regulated in any manner. You can only allow the altruistic surrogacy wherein there is no question of money. You can just allow the relatives to be there, and you can just help those genuine couples who really need some children on their own. Otherwise, this is not going to be regulated in any manner, because this is a crime which is deep rooted and it's going on since long. But everybody is just liking to keep their eyes shut, because this is not the first matter. There have been issues earlier also, but somehow this was not highlighted so much. So now this is the high time, and there is nothing which can stop. There is no excuse from bringing this bill actually in force. And I do believe this is not only a question of surrogate mother and how women were kept in confinement. This is also a question of a child who doesn't know who is the father, who is the mother, what is his right. So we need to talk about the right of a child. Here the people are going and getting, the single parents are going their children as if they are going to the toy shop, they are buying their toy of their own choice. They are coming back. Now the child doesn't know where is my mother, who is my mother. Now he'll grow up as 18, then he'll start searching who is my mother, who is my father and all that. This is a very deep...
See, I don't think, I won't take that, Siddh Vidya. It's not that parents are I'm picking up children like they're picking up toys. I don't think that's fair.
No.
It is a process that is tedious, it takes time, it takes energy. It's unfair to say that these people are just, buying
I'm
children.
telling this because now the people are selecting the color, the skin color, hair color and all that by using some kind of technique. So I have learnt about this. This may be this may not be known by many people. This is the correct fact actually. And they're trying the skin color. What is the skin color of the child?
Let's stay on point. Let me bring in Amit Karkhanis, who's also an advocate who joins us in Mumbai.
To understand.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Rao. Go ahead.
Faye, let me make one statement. I got very less time and it's not fair.
Yeah.
See, what I'm trying to tell you is when there is a solicitation, it's a commercial enterprise. And now today, without regulation, there is self-solicitation. It is not voluntary. These are poor people, dirt poor. Now, who would want to rent their womb? Which woman want to sell her womb? I mean, for God's sakes, if it is not, how can we make that legal? As long as it's a case-to-case issue where there is voluntary, movement in terms of a relative or somebody whom you know who want to carry a womb, that's a different story. That's altruistic. It cannot be commercial. You cannot exploit women like this. And especially in a country where the literacy levels are so low, where we are so impoverished, we cannot become a fertility destination of the world. We are already becoming. In districts like Karimnagar, in my own district where I come from in Telangana, it is almost a destination for... It's a destination.
You've ignored it too long.
It's a tourism.
Yes,
it is a fertility tourism.
Amit Karkhanis, look at Ranjana Kumari, we have ignored it for too long.
Ranjana Kumari,
we've ignored it for too long.
I think so.
The commercial surrogacy need to be banned.
Okay, I need to come in here at this point, and I think so I have not spoken, so you must give me a minute at least. That's only fair.
Amit Karkhanis, go ahead. One second. Krishnasagar Rao, 1 second. Let Amit have his say.
Fair, one thing I want to make it clear that as a lawyer, we should only speak on the basis of facts before us. Now, number one, the surrogacy bill of 2016 has not gone into the cold storage. It is before the JPC of the Parliament and they are looking into it. They have been given 90 days to look into it. They have called for the suggestions from the public. I'm sure some of the suggestions of the panelists here also has gone and they have conducted a proper hearing. It was conducted in the last month. I know about this fact. I have given my suggestion to the bill. So the government will go ahead with the new surrogacy bill as soon as the joint parliamentary committee gives its suggestion. That's number one. So I don't think so that bill has gone into cold storage. Having said this, number two fact is very clear that we are very bad at self-regulation. Whether it's a stockbroking or whether it's real estate, the same way the self-regulation model in India has failed, and that's the reason why government needs to come out with some sort of a legislation so that there is some transparency. There has to be a minimum criteria, there has to be a maximum criteria. There has to be an age criteria, there has to be an entry criteria, and there has to be an exit criteria. Now the documentation has to be standardized. There has to be an authority where all the surrogacy cases needs to be reported so that there is a corrective, authentic data which can be shown to the public, because right now we are speaking in air. There is very few cases which have actually come up in the public, like someone was suggesting, and lot of cases which may have happened may have not gone reported, may not have been reported because obviously people don't want to have some sort of a brush with law. Having said this, the incident which you are highlighting which happened in Hyderabad is more of an ethical issue than a legal issue, because the conditions that the surrogates were living in obviously were not up to the standard as per the basic human rights norm. Having said this, one also has to look into the fact that whether the women were there with their own consent. None of the women themselves who were in surrogate house or that place have actually filed a complaint. It is on the basis of some third party which the complaint has happened. So has the investigating officer actually gone and taken the statements of the surrogates whether they were unlawfully held?
Investigating officer is on the panel right now. One second. Amit, stop. Amit, stop. You're not listening. Stop. When you say that there were women and the investigative officer is on the panel with us right now. When he, one second. When the investigating officer tells us that these women were confined too many to one room, they were not allowed to leave the room unless, until they were ready to have these children, which is 9 months, that they didn't have basic sanitation facilities, then that violation of human rights is illegal. It's not unethical. It's very clearly illegal. Atchyuta Rao, one second, I want to go back to Atchyuta Rao. Atchyuta Rao, child rights activist.
Allow us to complete
this is criminal. Violation of fundamental rights is criminal. It's not unethical. It's against the law. Mr. Rao, go ahead.
There is no law at the moment to deal with such situations. The only law which can come into play is Section 342 of IPC.
I blame the governmental agencies.
Yeah, so if there is no law, anybody can do anything.
That's why it is ethical issue. That's why it is an ethical issue.
Confining someone to a place and not letting them out for 9 months.
That's why I'm saying it's more of an ethical issue.
What do you mean there's no law? What do you mean there's no law?
Because
the right to freedom.
There are guidelines, Faye, and these guidelines are not binding. These are ICMR guidelines. These are guidelines which are voluntarily followed, and some clinics choose not to follow it. So that's why we need a law.
Amit, you should listen.
It's a
My
shame
question
that
to you is,
if
I confine another human being,
when it comes to human
I
issues,
confine another human being to one room for 9 months and will not let... One second, Mr. Rao. Mr. Rao, allow me to moderate my panel. Amit, if I confine another human being to one room for 9 months and not allow that person to exit the room at all, that is unlawful confinement.
Absolutely.
It is not a question then about surrogacy or not surrogacy. Fundamental rights are being violated at this point, and that is illegal. So it's not a question about the investigative officer asking questions to the people who are confined. And Mr. Limba Reddy is here. He is the investigative officer. Mr. Limba Reddy, what did the confined women say to you? What did you gather from these women when you busted this racket? When you found them?
Yes, women are being, I can say otherwise, women are being confined because they are not allowed to go. I can say the women are being confined. They are not allowing to go outside. Not only that, even during the 9 months also, if anything happens at their home, they were also not allowed. They were strictly told, and the agreement is there. And in such a conditions, they were there, and it's very unfortunate that the hospital authorities are enforcing, and the contractor, who is the agent, also, taking money from the hospital and forcing those women, helpless women, to stay there in the hospital, and the hygienic conditions are not good. In such a situation, it is nothing but a human rights violation, and this is the conditions where these women are being there.
Mr. Rao, Mr. Atchyuta Rao, is a child rights activist. Do you believe that this is a violation of human rights as well?
Yeah.
Yes, and
Faye, it is not just criminal violation of human rights, but it is also, you have to understand, these women don't understand the contract, whether there is a contract.
It is commercialized.
I think I was asked this question.
All violations of even women rights.
Faye, did you ask this
question? One second. The question was to Mr. Atchyuta Rao in Hyderabad.
Can't hear anything. What kind of
discussion? One second.
Can you lower the voices of one of them so we can hear?
Mr. Atchyuta Rao joins us in the Hyderabad studio.
And what I want to say is,
go ahead. Yes.
What I am saying is, when the sector which has to be under the government control went into the private hands, naturally these sort of money minting or money making activities will happen. And the secondly, I am putting before all the what we call those who are discussing on that, these unfortunate thing is happened, and it is happening in several other areas also. Only this has came into the light. But the thing is, already some 40 to 50 women are there. Their stages they have conceived, and some are in their first semester and they are in the second trimester or in the advanced pregnancy. See, now government is thinking to send them all the women out. When they are sent out, what is fate of this poor woman? True. And what is the fate of the children, those who are getting birth after some time, say after 2 months, 3 months or 8 months, 9 months, whatsoever it is. In these lines also government should think. Otherwise the child will lose every right. See, child will become fatherless like that. Right. But because those who are the receivers are going away, and now the hospital is locked, and government is not talking about the women already conceived, already those who are in the family way, the government has to concentrate on them and compensate them. Actually they have said they have given 2.5 lakhs.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. What happens to these women right now, and what happens to the babies that are expected? Gaurav is on the phone line from Delhi. Gaurav tells us that he has a personal experience he wants to share. Gaurav, go ahead, we can hear you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Gaurav and I am a father from a surrogate mother. Regarding this debate around the legitimacy, what I have to say is that most of the time these women are well aware that they are going into a contract. I've been to one of these premises myself. The women are aware that they are going into a contract. Their husbands and sometimes their own parents are party in the contract. So all this about the women being unaware of that they're going to be pregnant, it sounds so unreal. They know they're going to be pregnant, and sometimes they want to get into the contract because obviously they want to escape poverty. Now, if you're telling me that by banning surrogacy, you're going to ban poverty, and after banning surrogacy, these women are no longer going to be vulnerable. I mean, that's basically wishful thinking. Your maidservant who works for you at home by 500 rupees a month is also vulnerable. So what are you going to do about it?
It is so selfish.
That's my logic. You know, the vulnerable people in the society remain vulnerable. You should have laws to protect them, not outright banning things.
Banning? How does
so you want to exploit them more?
Well, you know, he's making a very fair point, Krishnasagar Rao. If there are rules that dictate that these women have to be treated with a certain level of dignity, they have to be given certain facilities, and they have to be, you know, looked after a certain way, isn't it possible to still conduct surrogacy and still maintain dignity of fundamental rights, Krishnasagar Rao?
Absolutely possible.
Why not?
See, Faye, getting this thing moving ahead under a regulated, seriously regulated environment, is one. I don't know who's speaking over me again, Faye. I don't know why he's speaking again over me.
One second. I'm actually going to ask my audio person to handle this for me. My question is to Krishnasagar Rao, spokesperson of the BJP. Mr. Krishnasagar Rao.
I just feel so incomplete.
Krishnasagar Rao.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
See, Faye, what I'm trying to tell you is...
Mr. Krishnasagar Rao, please go ahead.
Let me answer. Yeah. Yes. See, the entire spectrum, right from the selection of the commissioning parent to the selection of a surrogate mother, all the way post-delivery and handing over, the entire spectrum is unregulated. Can you understand the dangers of it? And even if you regulate it, now there are thousands of women who are impoverished and they're looking for an opportunity to get out of that impoverishment by selling their wombs. Please imagine the social, emotional, cultural outcomes, implications of this on poor people. They become commodities. And one man who came up, I have nothing against him, he got his own child, but he's speaking as if that these are objects who are ready for surrogacy. So if they are impoverished, so what? They're already vulnerable, so I'll exploit them more. How sad is that? Now, why don't you ask somebody in your own family, extended family, to get that womb, to be a tenant in that womb, or get somebody who loves you more to do that act instead of paying for it. Now, one second. Now, let me close this. Faye, what I'm saying is, in a country where the serious rules and regulations and laws are breached on a wink, now we are talking about the most impoverished and illiterate people reading contracts. Are we joking? Are they going to understand contracts? And what kind of lawyers are going to support them if they are going to be breached by the end of the pregnancy, if they're going to be paid? Not at the beginning, mind you. So what if the lady doesn't get money, which she is promised? So the gentleman who came and spoke about having a surrogate son, great, he's gone. But if the broker doesn't pay her, who's going to fight for her? So there are a lot of loopholes, and in our country, this doesn't work. In our nation, especially, we have to make laws customized to our nation. In our nation, it doesn't work.
Okay, we heard you out. Yeah, we heard you out. I want to bring in Ranjana Kumari. Ranjana Kumari, here's the problem. On one hand, there's this whole question about the fact that there will be human rights taken advantage of. And like Gaurav pointed out on the phone lines, by banning surrogacy altogether, we don't ban poverty, we don't ban vulnerability. There is the problem is poverty, the problem is the lack of understanding of fundamental rights. How do we solve those problems? Because there will always be someone ready there to take advantage of the poor in our country.
Well, there is no doubt about that, Faye, and that is how this whole surrogacy industry, I would say, has really mushroomed. It just went from, just last 10 years, you will see the way every gynecologist, or even not a gynecologist, has become a surrogate expert, IVF expert. So, and also IVF, even ART bill is pending, this one is pending. The people, I mean, at least the BJP spokesperson is talking very loud on your program, but can you imagine his party in government for 3 years, and we submitted the report almost when the first health minister was there, when Mr. Nadda is there, and they're just sitting over all these issues. There is no clear understanding. They're allowing it to happen. They're just allowing it to happen. They're allowing poorest of the poor women to get exploited. They're allowing, and then talking all kinds of, politically correct language. This is totally unacceptable, because this is about the lives of women. This is about the rights of women. This is about how you can, vulnerability of the poor women. There is trafficking involved in the whole issue. So there are many, many aspects of this issue which needed correction immediately. But then, you know how women's issues are being dealt with by this government, that government, whatever government. Women are last priority. As long as you can exploit them and get what you want to get, they will go ahead and do it. That's what my feeling is, and my frustration is. I would encourage Mr. Rao also to go to our website at csrindia.org and read all the reports that we have given to Government of India. We have talked about every single thing which today has been exposed. We knew there will be day. If they conduct raids in every city, I think thousands of women will be found who are confined in the same way as you found them in Hyderabad. So what are you going to do with all of them? They are all pregnant. They are all having babies of somebody else. And what kind of a future are we looking for these women, and what can... So this, before we confronted this problem, if we act, things would be different. But I'm sorry to say that, about women, nobody is bothered in this country.
Right. And but Dr. Indira Hinduja, what's stopping the couple in question, the prospective parents, from looking after this woman themselves? It is, at the end of the day, their child she's bearing. They're going to want a healthy child who is being carried to term in good, healthy, surroundings. Why is it that parents are not taking more responsibility for the child in these cases?
No, that never happens. Actually, surrogate mother and the genetic parents have been met together. They have seen under what environment lead. The people always go to their house and feed the mother, not only that, but her children also. I remember that people carry the food, maybe the dry fruits, maybe the fruits, so that mother is not going to eat. The genetic mother will feed only the surrogate, but she knows that she is not going to eat. So she carries for entire family. So much so, if she has to visit our clinic, she has already sent a car. The taxi has been already signed, and that taxi goes to her house, brings her to the clinic, and the same taxi reaches her home. I remember one of my patients, my husband, met an accident. An entire genetic family went, picked him up from the place, treated him in the hospital, and everybody was so happy that her husband got the best treatment. So this may be happening in a very small places, whereas no genetic parents will allow that their growing child in somebody else's womb does not get the proper care, and they are never been confined to the place. And many a times even the houses have been rented where the surrogate is being given the proper house to live. And not so much so, those people have bought the houses for them. But this is something which happens somewhere, what you have been quoting from Hyderabad. It is most unfortunate. That should be regulated, but not the actual system and the actual technique.
Okay.
That
Regulated don't ban it. All right, regulated don't ban it.
I'll tell you, the girl who has never seen 10 rupees note, when she gets lakhs of rupees and she buys a farm and a field in this, and they live very happily. I'm sure the people are there who are doing proper ethical practice, and ethical practice under the proper guidance and the proper law, this is one of the best treatment, both beneficial for both surrogate mother as well as the genetic couple. I feel it's probably monitor it, see it to it that both of them are being benefited rather than going into the detail. What has happened in these remote places, it's absolutely
Dr. Hinduja, Dr. Gour, I just want to put this forward. I just want to put this forward. One second. I just want to put this forward.
Is that the agent or it is the doctor?
Okay, I just want to put this forward. In our country, we've had to ban the practice. In our country, we've had to ban the practice of people being paid to donate blood. The sale of organs is still rampant. We know that human trafficking and child trafficking is a huge problem. We know that prostitution is a huge problem. The truth is, Dr. Hinduja, however you want to see it, that the poor get taken advantage of in this country, that organs are sold in this country, that people sell their blood because that's the only way they can make money and feed their children. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't put them in a good position. That women and children are sold on a regular basis into prostitution. This is the country we live in. So we cannot assume, Dr. Hinduja, that just because you've come across cases where genetic parents have taken care of surrogate mothers, that this is how it's going to be across the country. The truth is that we have a horrific history in this country of violation of human rights, and we have to acknowledge that history. We have to realize that it is a huge problem. I want to go back to Siddh Vidya. Siddh Vidya, the truth is that when it comes to women and when it comes to very, very poor women, they have very little say over their own lives and over their own fundamental rights.
Yeah, correct. They don't understand, they don't know anything. So far, I have come across few of the agreements and I have seen few of the women. I don't think that they are capable of understanding what is written in the contract. They do not even know what is the basic ingredients of the contract. The basic ingredients of the contract, one of the ingredients is the consideration. They don't know whether the consideration is mentioned in the contract or not. And if that particular consideration is not paid, what is my legal right, where to go, what to do. So these are the basic issues. They do not know anything about it. They are just told, they have just been counseled ki this is the surrogacy process and all that. They just get into this thinking that okay, probably I'll get some money and all that. But this is really very pathetic that these women are coming from far remote areas and they are kept in a house. And I must tell one thing, that in this particular matter has been exposed only for the reason that somebody must have approached to the police saying that these ladies are confined. And since this wrongful confinement is already defined in the IPC, the police could act. presume a situation. I know a lady that who is suffering from who is having some kind of difficulty related to surrogacy and all that, wherein she has not been paid and all that, and she approaches to the police will even not be knowing what to do. Neither the girl will be knowing what to do, where to go, what is my legal right. So this is really a very serious issue, and definitely these poor women are being used for this kind of racket. I firmly believe this.
Well, one last word to Ranjana Kumari, who's still with us. Ranjana Kumari, human rights, fundamental rights, gender equality, rights of women need to come first. And my submission is only this, that if there is a bill that has been researched, that is ready, that is in front of the Joint Parliamentary Committee, we have to push the pedal on it. We have to move really quickly. We cannot live in a world that does not have a policy or a regulation when it comes to this sort of thing.
I totally, second your view, and I'm totally in agreement with what you're saying. But at the same time, you see, the whole issue is that Parliamentary Joint Committee will first finalize it. It goes to the Cabinet Committee, then it gets approval, then it comes to the Parliament. Things that needs to happen quickly happens when the government wants it to happen. When the government is not worried and bothered about it, then let it be. And then you should not forget that there is a very strong doctors lobby. When I sit on the committee on this whole PCPNDT Act committee, Central Supervisory Board, I know how powerful the doctors have become. Their lobbies have become strong. And my only worry and my only complaint is why doctors are not taking any responsibility in this. Why we need to have in such a medical system, why do we have to have middlemen? I mean, where are these brokers? Brokers are not only sitting in India, they are international broker companies now. So, why do we have to have brokers who are putting people together, who are negotiating the prices, who are ensuring these women to come, bring the women from all over, lure them into it? All kinds of wrong practices are going on, and the doctors are the ones who are benefiting the most. So the suggestion that you gave, that why the mother cannot be kept.
We have acknowledged the fact that everyone on the panel. Ranjana, I've run out of time. I have to wrap up this discussion. Everyone on the panel, including the people who called us on the phone line, have acknowledged the fact that this needs to be regulated. This needs to be regulated in the very least, and we have the regulation ready, we have the bill ready. For some reason, we're just not putting it on priority, and this is what we talk about night after night on this channel. These sort of issues have to be placed on priority by the government. You have to realize things like the Women's Reservation Bill, things like this sort of surrogacy bill have to be put on priority, because if you put it on the back burner like it is right now, human rights are being violated in the meantime. This is a very large country with a lot of very, very poor people. You have two solutions. You either bring in regulations to protect the rights of the poor, or you remove poverty. One of those two options. There is no third option. And since removing poverty seems to be a much longer term plan that's taking a lot longer to execute, let's at least focus on protecting the fundamental rights of every citizen in this country, especially the women of this country. Thanks for watching.